Welcome back. Now, this may come as a bit of a surprise, but in recent weeks, Israel's witnessed a new phenomenon in Middle East relations, the sound of laughter. Hanania, a US-based comic, has just staged the first Palestinian comedy tour there. So did his jokes bomb with the Israelis? Far from it, as Matthew Kalman reports.
Another night falls over the old city of Jerusalem, the end of another day of tension and conflict within its ancient walls. Downtown, this fearless team of Israeli and Palestinian comedians are planning to knock 'em dead.
I'm not just an Arab, I'm a Palestinian, but all that means is I don't look at you as an audience. I like to think of you all as potential hostages.
A piece of comedy history in the making. Hanania is the first Palestinian comedian to share a stage with Israelis and perform to audiences from both sides of the Middle East conflict.
Any Arabs in the audience? All right, good security at the theater.
The first Israeli-Palestinian comedy tour ended last week after 4 sellout shows in East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Hanania, a former PLO spokesman and activist who grew up in Chicago, says it's just the beginning. After so many years of violence, Hanania believes that laughing with the enemy is good for everyone.
Comedy and humor are very powerful ways of communicating. It can really cut through a lot of anger and stereotypes and make people listen.
Actually, I'm not Iranian, I'm not Pakistani, and I don't blow things up. I'm Arab, I pay people to do that.
A lot of the people in my family, they suffer. Pretty much everybody I know has a bullet wound. By going on stage in front of an Israeli audience, what I'm trying to do is to show Israelis that Palestinians are not all terrorists.
As you can imagine, after September 11th, I don't travel much. I still go to the airport, though. Hang out there, scare the crap out of people. I don't do nothing, I just lean against the wall.
Yisrael Campbell, one of the Israeli comedians on the tour, is an Orthodox Jew who on first sight might seem the last person to be welcoming jokes about the Israeli occupation.
Is it warm in here, or am I the only one dressed for Poland in the 1700s?
When I first saw Israel Campbell, the first thing came to my mind was, wow, this guy's very conservative politically, he could be a settler. Can we really get on stage and do comedy and still disagree about politics? I think it's proven that we can. And by going on stage, it's a way of getting people to acknowledge that there is a way for us to get beyond these political things that we have no control over.
Do you remember three and a half years ago, the IDF killed a master Hamas bomb maker? Do you remember this? The guy had one arm and no legs. I'm going to say he wasn't a master bomb maker. I'm going to say he was a mildly proficient bomb maker at best. But my question is this: what if you show up for master bomb making class and the teacher only has one arm and no legs? Can you defer till next semester?
But as the comedians prepared to perform in Jerusalem, the dark clouds of violence struck once again. A suicide bomb attack in Eilat in the middle of the tour killed 3 people. It left the comedians wondering whether they should continue.
The whole point of this comedy tour is not to allow the extremists and the violence to control us and say, don't do that. No. Comedy is more human than the violence. And so I think when there is violence, we got to be tougher. We should be doing more shows and more jokes.
I actually do a lot of Arab audiences, so it's kind of nice to have an audience like you that isn't handcuffed, hooded, and shackled.
I am the only Palestinian in this tour because a lot of Palestinian comedians who do comedy in the United States don't like the idea of appearing on stage with Israelis. They'll appear with Jews, they'll appear with anybody else, but they won't appear with Israelis. To them, it's a taboo. Well, you come here to the Middle East, it's just the opposite. They love it, they want it, they're laughing.
I remember I was on the flight on LL, really neat airplane. I had to get off, go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, somebody was in it, but it didn't say occupied. The disputed toiletry area.
Hundreds of people, Israelis and Palestinians, have packed this synagogue in West Jerusalem tonight for the final date of the Israeli-Palestinian Comedy Tour. It seems that Ray Hanania's theory that laughter can bring these communities together may just be right.
My name is Samir Sharif. I'm from East Jerusalem, the Arab side. I know my people. They will love it. They will love it as much. They want to have a good life, a good time with shows like this.
People are suffering. My family's suffering. I know the suffering exists, but the humor doesn't in any way insult that suffering. It doesn't wash it away. I got relatives that are in Bethlehem, relatives that are in Ramallah. This wall keeps them apart. I mean, it's so hard. I could not live like that. It'd be terrible.
But could you still make jokes about it?
Yeah, you can, because the humor contrasts the wall. It's the perfect backdrop for this wall. It shows you how terrible the wall is.
A few jokes will not be enough to end this conflict. If they can't bring peace, maybe they can split a few sides. Matthew Kalman, More4 News, Jerusalem.